Tottenham Hotspur 3, Leicester City 1. And against the Leicester side, Shaka with one eye on the second leg against Roma in midweek. It took Spurs a little bit of time to get going, but when they did, of course, it was Son and Kane involved with Harry's header from the South Korean's corner. Spurs didn't really look back, did they? And then Heung-Min Son took over as the game went on.
Yeah, listen, Leicester City have one eye in Roma and one eye on the beach come this summer, in all honesty. But I thought Leicester started really well. But then as it happens with teams at this point in the season who are safe, and you're right, they do have one eye on what's the European action, and no danger of getting into the European places through the league, no danger of getting sucked into a relegation battle, so you just kind of let things take over. And I've been there. You start well, and as the game goes on, if things continue well, you keep on, and if they don't, you just kind of drop off. And that's what happened with Leicester. From the time Spurs got the opening goal, I thought Leicester all but down tools. But saying that probably doesn't give Spurs, and in particular Heung-Min Son, enough credit for an outstanding second half. And Heung-Min Son with his second goal, the Spurs third. I mean, it really was a thing of beauty. And you really have to sit back, admire, and appreciate Heung-Min Son and the footballer that he continues to show himself to be. Listen, one of the most liked players in world football, regardless of who you support. And there's a reason for that. Plays the game with a smile on his face, never seems bothered, really enjoying his life as a professional footballer, and then goes and produces performances like that. I mean, this man really is a breath of fresh air to the game that I enjoy just sitting back and watching him play.
19 goals for the season, second only to Mohamed Salah, 6 more than Harry Kane. We all know Harry Kane's importance to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Is Son Heung-Min's importance underestimated by many?
No, I would say no, because I think people recognize how important he is. Of course, Harry Kane, being who he is, coming through from the Spurs Academy, England captain, will always grab the headlines when he hits the back of the net. And for good reason. Don't get me wrong here. For very good reason. Harry Kane is an outstanding footballer and rewriting record books himself. So grabs the headlines. But I think anybody who sits and watches the game, watches Spurs, appreciates Heung-Min Son for everything that he brings that I just spoke about. Now, slight confession here. My son is a Spurs fan, right? I couldn't get him to support West Ham. Trust me, I'm trying. And during the game, when Son scores that goal, shall we call it, he turns to me and says, Heung-Min Son is better than Sadio Mane. And it gave me pause for thought.
Ooh, that's a good comparison, huh?
It really, really is. And again, because he's a Spurs fan, I just kind of dismissed it. I'm like, no, I'll be. But you have to sit down and take note, and you have to think about that. And we are talking about Sadio Mane, African champion, part of this Liverpool team that's going to do or aiming to do the quadruple this season. And you really have to sit and think about that comparison, and that speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's away to Liverpool next for Spurs, and then the game that's probably going to decide the European spot, Arsenal at home, because Spurs' last 2 is against teams that they should beat. There's no point in discussing about Spurs and Arsenal right now. Arsenal playing West Ham. And we'll discuss the West Ham-Arsenal game later. But is there anything to suggest that the North London derby will not be the decisive fixture in either of these two teams' remaining run-ins?
No, I think it comes right down to that. Yeah. Regardless of what happens later on, as you discussed, regardless of what happens next weekend, that maybe goes some way to addressing my continuing discussion with my son. But as far as the top four is concerned, it comes down to the North London derby. I think that's where it all hinges.
I just want to end talking about someone who has made such an impact since joining in January. And one or two eyebrows were raised when the team was announced and Lucas Moura was chosen ahead of Dejan Kulusevski. But he came on, he got 2 really good assists, Kulusevski. And you just wonder, without wanting to predict who's going to finish higher, Spurs or Arsenal, a simple question. He's got to be one of the best buys from a January transfer window where it's not easy to get players that enhance your squad.
Yeah, Kulusevski has been simply outstanding. No question about it. Speaking of January buys, we had that question on Extra Time a couple of days ago on FC. And spur the moment, I just went, everybody at Newcastle was the purchase of this January transfer window, given what we've seen from them. But you're absolutely right. I think Kulusevski and what he's meant to Spurs deserves, honorable mention. I'm biased, I know. So Newcastle still had the better January transfer window, but Kulusevski is deserving of honorable mention for how he's come in, how he's fit in with this Spurs team, and how this team has responded, especially given everything that we had been hearing from Antonio Conte for the first half of the season about Spurs' own lack of quality and need for fresh talent. And he was putting, he was giving Levy a lot to think about. And dare I say, Kulusevski has come in and only added to that by some incredible performances.
I'm going to end with a warning, Shaka. ESPN FC and Hislop go hand in hand. But any more of that sense from your son, and it might not be Shaka who's analysing football in years to come. It might be Shaka Jr.
Well, I've been trying to tell him that as a Hislop, we are contractually obliged not to talk sense on ESPN FC. So I'm not sure if he's listening. He never listens.
But like everyone else on that show, isn't it? Thank you, Shaka.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.